Ross, Robby, and I grew up together, and we were almost like brothers. Ross was the one with the wild imagination and our practical joker. Robby was a little less crazy, and always did what Ross wanted to. I was the follower. I usually went along with them, rarely voicing any concerns. That's how I ended up this way. Ross is tall and husky, blonde hair and blue eyes. Robby is the shortest, about average in build with raven black hair and brown eyes. Me, I'm the skinny kid. I have brown hair and green eyes. Robby and Ross had talked about it for a while, and even told me about it, but I did not participate because I was away with my folks. Ross drilled a hole in the wall between the girls' locker room and an old closet, and using Robby's video camera, made a tape that lasted several hours. As the king of pranks, Ross had outdone himself this time. There weren't many boys in the school that wouldn't pay dearly to have a copy of that tape, so he started selling them. A parent of one of the boys that bought the tape found it, and worse, played it. Seeing high school girls in all sorts of undress instantly led to an investigation, and less than a few hours later Ross, Robby, and I were all taken to a conference room. Secluded from each other, it wasn't long before the whole story was out. My parents were notified, along with the others involved, and in the following hours, it became clear who was responsible for what. The authorities were summoned, leading to Ross and Robby facing a slew of charges including breaking and entering, voyeurism, solicitation, property damage, and more. Since I wasn't directly involved in filming or distributing the tapes, many charges against me were dropped. However, my ordeal was far from over. Ross struck a deal with his family, resulting in his enrollment at a renowned military academy known for its strict discipline, with probation until he turned 21. Robby, on the other hand, remained at home but was prohibited from attending school. His parents opted to send him to a different school in another state, vaguely mentioning an attitude adjustment. Despite my lack of active participation, I assumed I would face some reprimand, especially considering I was with my parents during the incident. My father, enraged by my silence regarding Ross and Robby's actions, devised a more severe punishment with my mother, which I soon discovered upon returning home. My dad was silent all the way home, and I knew from past experience that it was best to keep my mouth shut. When we got home, he told me to sit in the chair across from the couch. He and Mom sat side by side, not saying a word. Finally, he told me what my punishment would be. Since to like to look at girls' bodies without their permission, you're going to get the chance. Peg? My mother had 2 pieces of paper in her hand. These are identical, David. I wrote them last night and printed out these copies and deleted the file from the computer. I will read it now. 1. From this day onward, for a minimum of 1 year, you shall dress and act as a girl of your own age. 2. You will have the same house rules any girl your age has. 3. At any time we may increase the length of time you are in skirts, but only for an infraction of the rules. 4. You will continue to attend your school, but as a girl. 5. In order to see that this does not happen again, you will be made to look like a girl your age. 6. If at the end of 1 year we determine that you have learned your lesson, you may become a boy again if you wish. Do you understand all of these? I was surprised. They were going to make me dress differently. Mom! There will be no discussion, David. You will spend at least the next year dressed differently. The only question is, do you understand the rules? She gave me a copy, and as I read them, I felt uneasy. But I didn't do anything. You knew what they were doing, you knew it was wrong, and you did not tell us. By implication, you are guilty, and now you'll face consequences. My mother sounded stern, but Dad remained calm. Did you watch the recording, David? All 3 of us watched it together, and he caught on. Yes, sir. So you knew the recording existed and said nothing? Yes, sir. Then he smiled mysteriously. Son, it's natural for boys your age to be curious about girls, their appearance, and so on. I understand that. But this was inappropriate, and you knew it then, and you know it now. We decided that having you dress differently would make you understand the embarrassment those girls feel. Trust me when I say that you are getting off easy compared to Robby and Ross. In order to ensure that you understand the guidelines on the paper, we want you to sign and date it. We will all sign all copies, and you may keep one. If you refuse to sign it, you will still find yourself dressed differently, but as a younger child. This way you will be allowed to wear anything any other child your age would wear, except that for the first 2 months you may not wear any pants of any kind, unless the weather necessitates it and your mother agrees. Now, sign the paper, David. I reviewed the paper again, and with no alternatives, I signed it with the pen Dad handed me. I want you to go to your room and take everything out of your closet and put it in the boxes there. And I mean all of it, David. Posters, clothes, toys. All of it. I will be up in a few hours to check on you. Dad was back to his gravel voice again, and I went to my room. There were boxes all over the place, and as I looked around, I knew in my heart that my life was going to change dramatically. Then I got an idea. I grabbed a pair of jeans and a shirt and put them under the mattress on the bed. Then I went about doing as I was told. When my mom showed up, she looked in the closet, the dresser, shelves, and then, under the mattress. I'm disappointed in you, David. Not even a few hours into our agreement and already you're trying to cheat. I think a 2-month extension is in order, don't you? 2 months more. Over a year as a girl, and I had yet to even see any girl's clothes. Under her supervision, Dad and I carried all of the boxes to the shed where he padlocked them. Back to your room, David, it's time we started. With a great sigh, I followed Mom back to my room. Please take your clothes off, David, please. Mom! Now! Under her stern gaze, I undressed and stood in front of her, did it for the first time since I was a child. Without any prelude at all, she started smear a hair removal cream all over me, everywhere. We have made arrangements for you to be out of school until next Monday, plenty of time to get you ready. Following her instructions, I showered, shaved, and cleaned my hair. With her supervision, I dried myself, and she applied a fragrant powder all over me. You have a 2 o'clock appointment, David. We've got time. Relax, you might enjoy it, she said, handing me panties. I reluctantly put them on, where I had no choice. Afterward, she seated me at her vanity, where she expertly applied makeup, foundation, eyeshadow, eyeliner, and blusher. My hair was styled into a high ponytail, secured with a pink elastic. This is just temporary, David, she assured me. I wasn't reassured, I was afraid. Next came a new bra, size 36A, plain white, with back hooks. Mom helped me into it, placing rolled-up nylons in the cups. Then, she guided me through putting on pantyhose and slipping on a short red dress with a flared skirt and round neckline. The new black flats she gave me fit perfectly. Now, do your lipstick, David, she instructed, handing me a tube of bright red. We've got plenty of time before your appointment. Are you hungry? I nodded, and she led me to the kitchen. Dad wasn't around, so we both had sandwiches. Time to go. Mom's enthusiasm was unsettling, and I hesitated in my seat, reluctant to leave the house. Want another 2 months tacked on? No. Then? Reluctantly, I got up and got into the car. She drove me to a small clinic, familiar as Robby's dad's place. He was a gynecologist. Let's go, David. Mom held my hand, and upon entering, she announced my appointment to the nurse, sparking giggles from other women. I was taken to the back, and a different doctor entered. Please undress, David. Mom assisted, then he requested her to step out. He conducted an examination and administered a shot in my arm. Upon waking, I found myself in my own bed at home, but the room had been completely transformed with pink and white paint, and the sheets boasted a lace trim. Dolls from various corners of the globe adorned the shelves. Sitting up, I felt the unfamiliar weight on my chest and instinctively reached out, encountering 2 new body parts. Looking down, I discovered I now had a larger chest, and when I lifted the covers, I saw bandages on my groin, prompting tears. Mom entered and sat beside me. Remember rule number 5? We promised you'd resemble a girl your age, and now you do. You can now see the body of an 18-year-old girl anytime, David. Do I still? No and yes, David. It's still there, but non-functional. You not only resemble a girl, but you now have the same hygiene needs. Don't fret, you'll adjust, like we all did. Tears streaming, I gazed at her, and all she offered was permission to stay in bed if I wished, adding, "Tomorrow, you have an early appointment at the salon. I'll assist you with dressing, David, but from then on, it's your responsibility to prepare each day." That evening, I removed the bandage to inspect the results, and as promised, I now resembled a girl. In the morning, I slipped into some panties and noticed they fit much better now. My hips appeared fuller and rounder, while my waist seemed slimmer. I struggled a bit with the bra but managed to put it on, finding it supportive and relieving the discomfort. Mom entered, overseeing as I sat at my new vanity and applied my own makeup for the first time. She parted my hair down the middle and left it hanging straight. "Finish getting dressed, David. Put on a skirt and blouse. We have a busy day ahead." Following her instructions, I dressed and found myself looking exactly like a girl my age, despite feeling a bit awkward in the attire. Mom drove us to a salon, where I was escorted to a chair. The stylist didn't ask any questions, she simply got to work. Mom observed from a distance. My hair was trimmed, set in rollers, and treated with various lotions. While under the dryer, I flipped through 17, a magazine geared towards girls my age, and had my nails extended, filed, and painted a soft red. An hour later, still seated, I examined the transformation. My formerly straight brown hair now boasted auburn waves cascading around my face and down to my shoulders. My eyebrows, once average, were now shaped with a higher arch, and my makeup was flawlessly applied. Mom settled the bill as I continued to gaze at myself in the mirror. Every vestige of my old self had vanished, replaced by the most feminine look imaginable. "Have a wonderful year, David," the stylist remarked, her daughter apparently having been involved in the makeover process. "I hope you're as embarrassed as she is." I remained speechless as Mom whisked me off to go shopping. By the time we returned home, my wardrobe had significantly expanded. During the day, Mom and I paused for lunch, during which she shared more details with me. "The fine was substantial, David, but we managed to persuade the judge to allocate it towards your transformation. Trust me, regardless of your feelings about this, you're in a much better situation than Robby or Michael." She went on to explain their circumstances. Robby enrolled in an exclusive all-girls school, starting from scratch as a little girl, complete with diapers and frilly dresses. Meanwhile, Michael was relegated to a military academy because he was deemed too physically imposing for a female makeover. He'd be assigned to the most menial and degrading tasks until he turned 21, clad in a skirt and blouse to emphasize his femininity. Compared to them, David, you've had it easy. And if you allow it, embracing your feminine side can actually be enjoyable. Can we stop calling me David? At least in public? Why? It's your name, after all. Look at me, Mom. Being called David only exacerbates things. All right, so I'm a girl now. There's no changing it, so why not opt for something less masculine? Yes. What name do you have in mind, dear? Danielle. Call me Danielle, Mom. I glanced away just then, missing the subtle smile that crossed my mother's face. I acquired 4 additional skirts, 3 dresses, 3 extra bras, a dozen new pairs of panties, a coat, pantyhose, 5 pairs of shoes, 2 slips, 7 blouses, pierced ears, and an array of new jewelry. Additionally, I obtained a makeup kit, curling iron, blow dryer, roller set, 2 suits, a corselet, padded panty brief, and my own hairdryer. We transported everything to my room, where I was instructed to organize it all. That evening at dinner, Dad inquired if I was fully prepared, to which Mom affirmed, instructing him to henceforth refer to me as Danielle. It was her suggestion, Ron, and because she's handled everything so well, I agreed. I'll arrange to change her name tomorrow then, and she can resume school on Monday as scheduled. The following day, I had free rein as long as I wore a skirt or dress. Instead of going out, I relocated my computer to my room and set it up. I gathered all my identification documents and scanned each one into the computer, changing the name to Danielle Elaine Grant, and printed them out. As the last one emerged from the printer, Mom entered. Elaine. I like that, Danielle. A wonderfully feminine name. I'll inform your father. Then she handed me a wallet and a packet of maxi pads. I understand you don't need these, but I'd like you to wear one for 5 consecutive days each month regardless. You can commence whenever you like, dear, just try to keep it consistent. Monday morning, at my mother's insistence, I adorned myself in a pink A-line skirt and a highly embellished blouse. Doing my makeup to the best of my ability, I grabbed my pink purse, and Mom escorted me to school. Have a pleasant day, dear. Sure, Mom. If she caught the sarcasm in my tone, she didn't acknowledge it, merely waiting until she saw me enter the school before leaving. Once inside, I had little choice but to comply, reporting to the office as instructed. There was no ridicule, just the procedure of having my photo taken for a new school ID card, featuring my updated image and name. Additionally, a few of my classes were reassigned. Since there are no girls in shop classes, you've been switched to home economics. Gym will now be your 3rd hour. I was handed a list of required items and assigned a locker in the girls' locker room before heading to my first class. Until then, I had gone unnoticed, but as I took my usual seat, every gaze in the room fixated on me. We heard they turned you into a girl. How far did they go? Danielle. Okay, Danielle, how far? Shelley, always a nuisance, persisted. I simply brushed her off, stating she'd find out eventually, and turned away. Throughout the day, I was subjected to stares, some kids giggled, and a few guys cringed at the thought of being in my shoes. But on the whole, it wasn't as bad as expected, and I even found myself with a few girls joining me at lunch. As per the household rules prohibiting dating on weekdays and my restriction from leaving the house, I dedicated my time to completing my homework. The following day, during first period, we were instructed to gather in the auditorium. We'll be screening a short film depicting recent events here. You're all familiar with Danielle, and we expect you to treat her with respect, refraining from name-calling or teasing. With that, the lights dimmed, and the film commenced. Ross stood on a grassy lawn, clad in a short black miniskirt, black heels, and a frilly blouse. Despite his crew cut, he sported bright red lipstick, his legs unshaven, devoid of any feminine features beyond the lipstick. It was evident he had been crying. On screen, he offered an apology for his actions, vividly describing his circumstances. Next appeared Robby, situated in a room reminiscent of a nursery, dressed in a short satin and velvet dress, with stiff taffeta petticoats. His hair was styled in pigtails adorned with red ribbons matching his dress, each pigtail adorned with a small bell. He wore white ankle socks and black Mary Janes, with a harness encircling his torso, akin to those used on children, tethered by an unseen individual. In his hand, he held a small teddy bear. Like Ross, he expressed his remorse, then bent over to reveal ruffled panties over a diaper. The room remained silent as the film transitioned to my segment. I was depicted wearing a tan skirt and white blouse, slightly unbuttoned to reveal my newfound cleavage. The film documented my trip to the mall with Mom, capturing moments before, during, and after my salon visit. As the film concluded, the principal approached the microphone once more. As you can see, all of the boys involved are being punished, Danielle the least, because she was not present. However, she is now a female and will be treated as one, and anyone that gives her a hard time might also learn some humility. Any questions? We all went back to class, and at third hour, with my gym bag in tow, I stepped into the girls' locker room for the first time. All eyes were on me as I found my locker and slowly got undressed. When I got to my panties and bra, it was obvious that I was now a girl and nobody said anything. Later I had to take a shower, which sealed it. All of the girls made sure they saw me in the shower, and as soon as they saw that I looked like them, all of the tension, including mine, went away. It took almost a week for the rumors to start. I was really a girl and always had been. That one was the most popular, but all I could do was ignore them and go on. I had 14 months as a girl, so I might as well get used to it. A month after school started, I was asked out by a brave soul named Ethan. My mind said no, but my mouth said, I'd like that. Ethan, what time? When you go to the house on Friday night, he got the once-over from Dad, and I had elected to start wearing my maxi pads. The show is fine, and he was a perfect gentleman. I found out he was funny, and as a girl, I thought he was cute. In the show, he put his arm around me, and I let him pull me closer. That night, as he dropped me off at the house, he kissed me on the lips. Can I call you tomorrow, Danielle? Sure. Good night. I went in and saw Mom standing there with Dad. Have a nice time? Yes, it was very nice. I went to my room. I was a boy, I knew it, Ethan knew it, so why did he kiss me? Worse, why did I let him, and why did I like it so much? Ethan called the next day, and with Mom's permission, he came over. Mom had taken to letting me wear shorts, so that's what I had on, with a pink top, when Ethan came over. On the patio, he talked, I smiled a lot, and he kissed me again, a lot more passionately this time, and I once again let him. I was turning into a girl on the inside. Ethan and I dated for almost 3 months, and he and Dad became close. He asked me to the spring dance, and I accepted. Mom went crazy, she in buying a new dress, shoes, and jewelry. I had my hair done, and by the time Ethan got to the house I was clean, perfumed, and more than ready. My chest was hiked up and shoved out, my waist a trim 20 inches due to the corselet. He now had his driver's license, and drove us to the dance. Later, he and got into a passionate embrace, and we touched each other, in several places, all of them fun. Without thinking, I had his member in my hand, the velvet hardness so familiar, yet different. His hand found my own thing, and I leaned over and took him. It was smooth and silky on my tongue. I swallowed it and knew there was no way I would ever go back to being a boy again. Never. I had become a girl, with a man that wanted me just as much as I wanted him. I failed to wipe my mouth completely, and Mom extended my tour in skirts another 6 months. It doesn't matter, Mom. I'm not going back to being a male again anyway. She was quick, I'll give her that. Then we have to talk about men, and what we do, and do not do, on a date. We did talk, and in the end I was accepted by the rest of the kids, and went on to become a woman. Robby never returned to school, but we saw him on holidays. He was now in skirts and blouses instead of the kiddie dresses, but he still did not have a large chest and wore his hair in pigtails with ribbons and bells.